cars were built to last back then. You know, cars these days are built with a shelf life.
Actually, speaking of which, anyway, in 2013, 2014, MAA, Malaysian Automotive Association, actually proposed to introduce this vehicle end of life policy, which means cars anywhere between 10 to 12 years old are deemed unsafe for public use. And I think this is probably like a scheme to sell more cars. And when you sell more brand new cars, you get more, the government gets more taxes, you see. But it has never it can't be put into motion. For several years now, the MAA has tried, Proton, for that matter, tried in 2009 to boost brand new sales for local their brand new cars, right? Didn't work out too great. So, Chris, I'm sure you have a lot to say about this vehicle end of life policy. Let me give you a starting point.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure it would have a severe impact on the classic car scene.
Absolutely.
Everyone's going to flip. What are they going to do? Sell it for scrap? And how much are they going to sell?
No, that's the problem. You see, you have to take into consideration that particular classic car scene. Now, there are cars out there that are 40, 50 years old, which are in remarkable condition. Now, what are you going to do with them? You know, so okay, let's looking at classics for one side. Maybe they need to have a specific category. Okay, but therein lies the problem. How do you really define a classic? Okay, if it's not outwardly like a Jaguar E-Type, let's say it's a 123 Mercedes-Benz. Okay, it's
which you had,
which I had. Which I had. It's not really like a classic like an E-Type, but still, if it's running strong, if it's in perfectly working order, how are you going to scrap a car like that? It's ridiculous. That's why I had this idea of cars above a certain age, say 20 years, 25 years, a mandatory inspection every year to make sure the car is roadworthy. Because yes, it's true, there's a lot of clunkers out there, and they're dangerous. The last thing you want is a really beat up car, brakes fail, slamming into somebody else. If there's deaths, it's a horrible thing. So have a mandatory inspection.
It's a valid reason for them to be.
And at the same time, with this mandatory inspection, you get incentives. It is a bit of a hassle getting your car inspected yearly to make sure that it's roadworthy, but have an incentive. Immediately, you pay 50% less road tax. Immediately.
But they do have that for classic cars, right?
They do. But it's very difficult to get. Do you know the process? I'll just run it down real quick. You need 2 other cars in your name, paying full road tax. You need to get the car certified by a registered classic car club. You need to go to Putrajaya with the registration to make sure that they have done all the inspections done. Then they need to certify it. Then you need to go to JPJ and get that car certified by them then if you're lucky, you get to pay only 10% of the actual road tax. Now that works really well for big CC cars, like I said, the aforementioned Jaguar E-Type. But for smaller cars like a Nissan Sunny, you're not paying that much.
Go through that process.
That's too much trouble to go through that process. So that's why it should be automatic. Do a yearly inspection for cars 20, 25 years of age. Do a yearly inspection and then immediately cut the road tax. The car is worthy. Because, okay, I have a car outside that's 25 years old and it's running beautifully. It's perfect, everything works. How do you scrap a car like that? It just doesn't make sense.
And it's got a lot of emotional attachment to
it. Yes, absolutely. I mean, people do get attached to their vehicles. I mean, that's a no-brainer there. But, Keshi, I'm sure you have some ideas as well.
I do, but I kind of see where they're coming from, For example, I travel on the highway a lot, back to Ipoh and this thing. And sometimes you are definitely on one of these trips, you're definitely to come across a car that looks like it doesn't belong on the road.
Absolutely.
It's probably doing 60, 70 kilometers per...
In the fast lane.
Yeah. Yes. But there are obstacles on the highway.
Yes, they are moving obstacles.
So I think this initiative is more to address, it should be geared to address this problem. Because they really look like they're about to fall apart at any time. And there are obstacles on the road. We complain a lot about fast drivers, but slow drivers are equally a problem as well. And this clunkers, as you call it, are really a problem. But then at the same time, on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have the pristine, like you said, your Ford
people
TX3.
who actually take care.
Yeah, exactly. Then Mercedes 123, Mercedes 124, all these classic cars. Porsche 964, you're never going to scrape a Porsche 964, right?
How about an original 911?
Yeah, exactly.
No way.
How do you scrap an original 911?
Precisely.
I mean, that's a sin, to do something like that.
And what you just described of having to go to Putrajaya, if you're living in Perlis, for example, having to go to Putrajaya, that's just
It's unfeasible.
Yeah, we already have Puspakam who are actually quite certified and
Yeah,
quite
they even go to your house right now.
yeah, precisely.
The mobile
and they're
inspection,
quite
they're very
capable,
good.
and they're very capable people, and they I think they can tell whether a car is roadworthy or not.
Yeah.
So instead, I guess the government has their concern that people might misuse the system. Okay, let's give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But Puspakam is quite capable of telling us whether these cars are roadworthy or not. So
that is their function, actually.
yeah, precisely.
To
And
actually make sure
the entire
cars are
system
roadworthy.
can be simplified now.
Yep. Yeah.
But yes, they should address this program because there are too many beat up cars on the road, too many beat up trucks actually
True.
as well, and yeah, they should address it, but they should do it smartly because Malaysians love cars. Let's face it.
Yeah.
We pay so much for cars. We pay
And the
among-
number of cars they sell
Yeah,
every year
exactly.
goes up. They just
Exactly. So they can do it better.
Yeah. On the flip side of the coin, now we have to talk about this blanket policy of scrapping all cars above a certain age.
Oh, that's just
It's ridiculous
rubbish, yeah,
because
yeah.
if you take a drive on the old roads going back to wherever you're going,
Cameron
you-
Highlands or
Cameron
what.
Highlands, or
Yeah,
going up
the
to
Toyota.
Perak or whatever it is, you will notice a lot of mummy and daddies or grandmas and grandpas selling their Kropot Leko at the side of the road. They've got a Nissan Sunny wagon.
Yeah,
Now, you want to
indestructible.
scrap their car,
Yeah.
you are scrapping their livelihood.
Yeah,
they need
exactly.
that car
Exactly.
to take them from their home to
Exactly.
their place where they're going to sell their goods. What are you going to do otherwise? And if you say, no, we're making it easier for you to buy a new car, what makes you think they can afford a new car?
Yeah.
At their age, can they even get a loan?
Yeah, they're immediately going into debt if they can.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do they sell enough Kropot Leko to pay for a car every month? Now, that car is fully paid. It's road legal. It's working fine. How can you tell them to scrap their car? That's their livelihood.
Yeah.
So that's why they need to really think about this.
Yeah.
A blanket policy saying all cars above a certain age are unsafe, it's wrong.
not doable, not
Absolutely.
feasible at all.
No,
Yeah,
not
there, were,
feasible.
there were a lot of jokes going around that if you take cars like that away from the people who live in the kampong, you're not gonna, the government's not gonna get their vote in the next general election or something like that.
But it's a serious matter because if they really do it, if they really implement this and say, okay, everybody with a car over 20 years, you got to scrap it and buy a new car, you're going to kill a lot of livelihood. You're going to kill a lot of people.
So MAA has a lot of research and study to do if they really want to
Yes,
implement this
absolutely.
system.
Maybe the way they can do is by addressing the commercial vehicles first. We have Mercedes trucks from 1960.
Yeah, that's a 911. The Formula 4 is a 911.
Mercedes trucks.
It's got 911 on the side.
But yeah, you have these trucks that are still on the road, and they
Some of them have no doors, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
man, yeah.
Or
exactly.
a piece of
called
wood.
lorry
A
hunting.
piece of wood.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
There's a door.
never mind a door, dude. They have a chain, just a chain.
Yes.
They just put a chain
Yep.
there.
yeah,
and
I've
that
seen
Going
acts-
for a trip at the amusement park.
So, I mean, the entire thing is very noble. We understand, but maybe they can. The gist of it is safety.
Yep.
So they can use this program to address the commercial vehicles first. Because when your truck is that old, brakes fail.
Yeah.
You're still running. You don't even have disc brakes. You're still running on drum
drums,
brakes.
yeah.
Your gear selector is probably what, a four speeder, 5 speeder,
Something like that.
something like that.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not safe at all. So maybe they can start by addressing the commercial vehicles first.
One
Right.
good initiative they had recently was the implementation of mandatory reflectors at the back of those
Yeah.
old trailers. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Because those things pick up light very easily. And a lot of cases of big commercial lorries in the past was that they only have those little
Yeah,
small
the-
lights at the
yeah,
back, and
exactly.
sometimes they don't even work. At night you can't see them.
Yeah.
No, not
a lot of
at
them have
all.
switched to LED
You
already.
can't see them because you'll be riding along or driving along and you come around a corner and there's a truck stopped in the middle of the road and you don't see it at the last minute.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
It's a
that's it.
hazard.
Yeah.
But also then the question is enforcement. You can have all these things in the world, but if
Enforcement.
you don't have
Proper enforcement.
proper enforcement,
Yeah.
then it's just
True.
doesn't
Like a lot
enforce
of things in Malaysia, it's not
Yeah,
properly
precisely.
enforced, unfortunately.
We have great ideas but very poor enforcement.
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
So
Great
yeah,
ideas, poor enforcement.
I think the way forward would be perhaps they can start with commercial vehicles, and then slowly trickle down to private vehicles as well. But Chris is absolutely right that some people's livelihoods depend
May be
on these cars, and if you're going to take it away, cars are not cheap here. You buy a car and you're immediately in debt.
Yeah.
you
Straight
know?
away.
Yeah.
So the cheapest car in Malaysia is what, the XL?
Asia.
Yeah, XL, right?
Asia.
And that's what, 25,000 ringgit starting?
Still,
It's
that's
not cheap.
25,000 ringgit.
To buy that cash,
Yeah.
how many
It's
of
not.
us can afford to pay that much money
Nope.
cash,
No
you
way.
know? You definitely have to take a loan.
Yep.
There's this saying that every Malaysian is born into debt. you
Yeah.
know?
I
So,
believe in that. Unfortunately.
so,
I believe in that.
so, unfortunately, if they want to implement the system, then they have to think it through.
Yep.
You know, if every Malaysian is in debt, it's not good for our economy anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
That's true.
So we can start with commercial vehicles.
And is the Proton Asia, is the
Proton
Proton
Asia.
Asia, is it suitable for their needs? They need a wagon.
Yeah.
You know, the Nissan Sunny wagon is perfect
Something
for
with a
them.
boot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, something with a boot, something they can put all that stuff
Thought
inside.
I think the
Proper
cheapest
Eco.
wagon is the Alza. Alza? Is it the Alza? Something like that.
It's got MPV.
Yeah.
Sort of.
But
You
even
could
that's not
you could
cheap.
use it. No,
Even
definitely
that's what, starting at 50 something? That's not cheap, man.
not. It's they need to really think this through.
Yeah.
Because
I think if they lowered car prices down, maybe it could work.
probably not.
No,
But
usually
think
if
about
they
it
lower the
this
car
way.
prices and then they introduce this vehicle end of life policy, and on top of that, when you scrap your car, they give you some form of
They did
incentive
that.
for you.
They did that.
Yeah, with the Proton in 2009.
Yes, they did in 2009. You mentioned
that
that before.
didn't work out too great for them.
No, but it killed a lot of classics. It really did.
Yeah,
I went to visit the boneyard in Tanjung Malim,
Okay.
and I had tears in my eyes. I kid you not,
man.
because there were some beautiful old cars there that had been traded in for 5,000 ringgit. That's what you get.
Yeah.
5,000 ringgit if you can drive it in or tow it
And you
in.
buy a brand new Proton.
And to buy a brand new Proton. And I saw
People actually went for
Celicas.
that.
And yeah, I saw Celicas in there. I saw RX3s in there, and I wasn't allowed in. In fact, the security guard even said you can't take any photos, and I was like, okay, sure, click. But they were stacked 8 high and about 12 deep. Yeah, it was just crazy.
That's sad.
Okay, some of those cars in there, yeah, of course they look
They
terrible.
had to be, yeah.
But there were also some that were definitely
I'm
usable.
surprised these owners actually went for it.
I don't know why. You know, maybe they're not car people, but speaking as a true car person, we lost a lot of really good cars.
Moment
a
of
lot
silence
of
for
really good old classic. And we couldn't even buy the parts. That's the thing. If they had actually turned it into a little small side business where you could actually go and buy a carburetor for a 1963 something, that would have been fine. You know, or buy old slot mags or something like that. But no, we were not allowed to touch those cars.
Yeah.
They were just crushed.
Actually, if we were to take a
Melted.
step back and think about the feasibility of introducing something like this, do you think at this point in time, like we've progressed to selling like 600 over 1,000 cars a year, do you think it's still timely for us to have this system in place right now? I think it's too late. To me, I think it's too late.
I would say it is a bit too late. And also, it needs a lot more thought before even they even think
can't
about
just put it
implement.
out there, move
No,
for a
you can't
change
just
and
put a
then-
blanket statement and say, 20 cars, all cars above 20 years, you got to scrap them because they are unsafe. You know, safety is relative.
Yeah.
You know, and we're going to talk about that in a little while too.
I think eventually it will happen because technology is progressing so quick
Okay.
that sooner or later the joy of driving is probably going to be taken out of our hands.
Man, it's taken away already, and look
Yeah.
at the number of shitty drivers you have out there.
You know, so
We rely too much on technology. if
it
you
will
think about
happen.
it.
Sooner or later, this entire program will be introduced. You know,
That's very optimistic of you.
I think it will. Maybe not in the next 10 years. Maybe not in but I think eventually it will happen. You know, you can't have cars that are 60, 70 years old on the road. You know,
I think-
unless it's a Ferrari 288 GTO, whatever.
Yeah, beautiful
so,
car.
Yeah, so,
But I think you're right, because the way of the future is such that you what is that? What's the word? You rely on public transportation instead of your own personal transportation.
That's what
It's
they've been
safer
trying
on
to do here for the
Yeah,
last
I think
20
it's-
years. I mean, rely more on public transportation and so improve the public transportation and then maybe rely on it a bit more. I'll be frank with you, when I have to go into KL, I don't drive.
I also don't drive.
I take train.
I have no
I'll
patience for
I'll
traffic.
park my car or my bike at the nearest LRT and I'll train it straight in.
I don't have.
I don't drive into KL
I'm a small
anymore.
town guy, man. I got no patience for traffic. Seriously, I'm old school.
There you
but
go,
in-
yeah.
Where do you come from?
I'm from Ipoh. Actually, from Kampar.
okay,
There's
okay,
no
yeah,
traffic.
yeah, very
Ipoh,
quiet.
anything that takes longer than 10 minutes is considered far. Right? So yeah.
I'm from Penang, so all the drivers there are mad, so I'm quite used to it, so it's fine.